Shabbat Shalom and Hanukkah Sameach to all of you. I am so glad that we are now at this time of the year. It's a beautiful time. You know, here in Canada, we need to have a white Hanukkah. And I like it. That and those who are in Miami or in other places, they're envying us, and I know and understand you are sweating there, and here we are very nicely in beautiful weather. Well, today also the parasha of today is called Miketz, at the end. And it's at the end of the Joseph going through a lot of things and basically coming up to re-encounter his brothers. One of the things that our sages are telling us that usually this parasha falls during Hanukkah and has a very interesting meaning that I'm going to try to make a little bit of to point it to that way. But before I do that, one of the things that have been repeating to you over and over again, and sometimes it's difficult to understand these ideas, especially when we constantly look at the scriptures and we have come from backgrounds that sometimes we have exalted our heroes to make it greater than they are. You know, the Torah has a wonderful teaching out that regular human beings are chosen to do special jobs or a special task. God called these men to do something special. You know, we have, for example, from the beginning, you know, in the Bereshit, we have Adam and Heva or Eve, and we have then Noah, then we have Abraham Avinu, we have Yitzhak Avinu, we have Yaakov Avinu. All of them they are portrayed in a way that they have good parts and they have certain areas they are not too good. Well, why the Torah allows us to see that? Because the Torah wants to let us know they are not superhuman beings. They are regular humans. That they are following a task that they have been called for. And even when they are given that task, sometimes has their failures. You know, for example, we see something in Moshe Rabbeinu, who are a great teacher. You know, the one that took Israel out of slavery, out of bondage. And, you know, he has very high moments and had very low moments. But he didn't lose his humanity. And the Creator has named for them, for Abraham Avinu, man of faith, for Moshe Rabbeinu, he called it his friend. He talked to him in a very close way. But I didn't make it then superhuman beings. What they showed was their humanity. And I try always to emphasize that. The humanity of our heroes. Why? Because in that way, you don't need to think about that you cannot do certain things, or you cannot follow God's direction. And even if you fail sometimes, our Creator is a wonderful it's so wonderful that he gives us always the opportunity to come back. I call him, our God is a God of the beginning again. You know, he's always giving us a new opportunities. Never ever give up on us. He's always extending the hand. But what happened if we got the idea that our heroes in the scripture are perfect? They are super beings. You know, You know, and then we have like the comics, those stories of the comics. You know, we have Superman, Batman, and superheroes that they cannot fail, they cannot die, they cannot do anything. You know, and then doing that, we take them away from their humanity. That is one of the gifts that the Creator gave us to us, make us human beings. Now, Joseph was very special. And you're going to see, you are careful reader of the scriptures, you're going to see that Joseph, yes, he was very smart, he was very giving, he had faith in God. No, we cannot deny that. But he was a spoiled young man. And why? Because the father did it in that way, Jacob. You know, look at, you have a family, and you have several brothers, you know, and you are not the oldest one, okay? And the father comes and gives to you something to make you better than the others, in front of everybody. What are you going to get from your brothers? Even in the Torah told us about that. It speaks very clear about hate produce destruction. The sinach chinam. And in this portion, in the beginning of the last parasha, only in the first parasha, 4 times, they say that the brother got hate. They hated brother. They couldn't talk to him in a peaceful way. And that was the reason that what happened to Joseph. And Joseph helped. Joseph received, very interesting, a dream. And I am not saying that the dream doesn't come from the Creator. God can do everything. But the dream was for him. But what he does, I am here, the center of the universe, and telling and boasting before his brothers. Already the brother has problem with him. But what happened is that he is boasting. Not only that, but his father Jacob realized what he's doing. And he said, Lama, what are you doing? You know? And he said, you know, what you're doing is, that's not good. And he kept in his heart. And his brother said, are you trying to be over us, to rule over us? The brothers. You know, and he started, I am the champion. Then the father said, you know, to calm you down, to get better relationship with your brothers, because you don't go with them. You know, you don't work with them. You are the director, the overseer. Go and see them. And he was a tarotel. You know, he already said in the scriptures that he brought bad reports to his father. You know, that tell you about that he was a very good person. You know, people do not understand about when we read the scriptures. I say, be honest to the scriptures. Don't put your heart. Read it, because the Torah is trying to tell us something. The Torah wants for us to see, to read, and we understand. And why he's painting like that, Joseph? Because Joseph is a very outstanding young man, very intelligent, very capable. And God has chosen him for a special role. But chosen him doesn't mean that he's perfect. Totally the contrary. The Torah is going to show the process of him becoming a real man. And in this parasha, we are going to see even something that we have not seen, or maybe you have not thought about it. Have you asked yourself, in all this time, after finally Joseph becomes a viceroy, the second after Pharaoh, very powerful in Egypt. He was a god, by the way, for the Egyptians. And this is very interesting picture that tell you that there's nothing new under the sky. And I'm going to give you this picture. You know, Pharaoh was God, and Joseph was the son of God. Okay? That sounds to you familiar? And being the son of God, he represented God on earth. And he was acting as God. And nobody could dare to do anything to him. Now, being God, or semi-God, having the power of the most powerful empire of that time, why he didn't go back to check on his father? There are many studies, many rabbis, and many midrashis. There are many ideas. But one of the things I like that I want to say is that he really thought that his father Jacob didn't care about him because he didn't go to look for him. And he didn't know, and we don't know even until the end, we don't know, that his brothers has told his father that he was dead. Okay? Then he hold that thing inside him. And when he saw his brother for the first time, he wanted to kill them. And the first thing they asked him, is your father alive? And then even after, he asked again the same question. We're going to see in Vayigash, the next parasha, when he had the encounter, final encounter with Judah. And you're going to see these two types of Mashiach. Ben Judah and Ben Joseph. Ben Judah is the, what we call it, Ben David, the lineage of David. And Ben Joseph, the suffering servant, the suffering Messiah. These two pictures you're going to see encounter each other. And I'm going to go the next week and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that. But I want that you see these pictures. Because the Torah, as the Hebrew language it is a language of pictures, not of concepts. It's pictures. They describe and they give you something to think about it. You know, the Greek language and all the derivatives from that, they're language, they're cognitive languages. Languages that they define concepts. Meanwhile, the Hebrew language, as the Middle Eastern language and Oriental languages, are totally the opposite. They are languages that do not define concepts, but they do describe pictures. And through those descriptions, we have the understanding. That's the reason sometimes the Bible, the Tanakh, is so difficult sometimes to understand today because we have a Hellenistic mentality. And that mentality forces us to every word that we read, we're trying to define it instead to see the concept, the whole picture. And I always say to you, if you want to understand the scripture, you need to be holistic. You cannot be punctiliar. If you are rationalistic Aristotelian, you have a lot of problems because you go to the point instead to see the whole picture. You need to constantly look the whole picture. Don't get lost in the little point like many people do, especially those who study systematic theology, go to the point and they get lost because they cannot see the picture. And here, you're going to be a very interesting concept. And the concept is that these struggles of callings and these struggles of coming to what is going to happen to the people of Israel. There is a reason. And later on, we are going to see that all of this needed to happen in order that later on, Israel will be for a period of time almost in a container. Okay? When they go to Egypt, Israel grows in a container, you know, in the Goshen area. And very clear, we're going to see later on here, he say when he wants to eat with his people, when they come back with his brothers, very clear say in the Torah, that the Egyptians wouldn't eat with them because they looked them down and they were farmers, they were cattle men, you know, and for them that was the lowest of the lowest that you could do. And this is the reason that the Pharaoh sent it, where? Sent it to the Goshen area for the farmers. And they were totally isolated from the rest of the Egyptians because the Egyptians wouldn't be close to that kind of people. Who are the people who got together in that time to Israel? The other nations that were captured. That is the reason that later on you're going to see in Shemot HaSefer, in the book of Exodus, when they leave, when they finally have the deliverance, Israel doesn't go out alone, but go with an Arab Rab, a mixed multitude, that multitude that was already with them, those people who without class, because the upper class were the Egyptians. Well, here you're going to see Joseph basically struggling with his brothers, and he's going to put tests to his brothers, and he's going to make them suffer, especially to the one who did wrong. Things that we need to go back to understand Joseph's ways is that Joseph didn't know if his brothers sold him or no. And in the scriptures, they say that they sold it, but when you read it, they didn't sell Joseph. The Midianites who took them, he was crying and asking to be saved. He was taken out of this pit, and when he went out, they paid the 20 pieces of silver. But not to them. That was to the Ishmaelites. They prayed to the Midianites. Then you need to look and be careful when you read, and do not follow the folklore. Follow the scriptures. Folklore can give it to you. But he heard, when he was in the pit, the brothers were trying to determine. Reuben said, please don't kill him. And Reuben said, put him here, and his idea was to come back, to pick him up and take him back to his father. The other, Judah, was a little bit more clever, and he said, you know what? Let's sell him. He was listening. And in his mind, he was sold by his brothers. But his brother didn't sell him. He was taken before they were able even to get any money from him. Then, all of this is in his head. He has passed. Can you imagine the very tacky, I don't have a better term, Joseph, very stuck up Joseph, suddenly he goes down to the dungeon. First of all, he becomes Potiphar maid, and Potiphar's wife trying to seduce him. He runs away from his wife, and he's accused of sexual harassment. That sounds to you natural now? The woman attacked him, and he's accused of sexual harassment. We look like that we are living that today. Now now we need to be careful. We say to a woman, "Oh, how good looking you are!" Oh, sexual harassment. No, you cannot say anything. It's terrible what is happening today. And now everybody's suing everybody. No, he touched me, or he looked at me. He looked at me with bad eyes. Oh, you don't know what to. Anyway, well, he was the first one to be put in jail for sexual harassment. He was put in jail, and he had the keeper of the prison. He was very good. He was very intelligent, very capable. That was obvious. He has capabilities that not any of his brothers have it. He was very smart, and he immediately showed his qualifications, and he put it in a very special role. And then he has this dream, and when he said to the cupbearer, he said, "Please tell Pharaoh when you leave where I am," and he forget. And finally, in this parasha, we see that finally this cupbearer here remember about this young Hebrew man, and Pharaoh called him immediately. And there is a very interesting about to see the change of Joseph from being very stuck up to humble himself little by little. You know, in chapter 40, okay, we are going to see a very interesting 40a, when he is asked by the two men that were in prison to interpret it, and they say, and we have a dream, and we don't have anybody to interpret. What is the answer of Joseph? Only the Creator, only God is the one that gives the interpretation. And they say, please give me your dreams. You know, he was still a little bit stuck up, you know, a little bit. But look at what he say in 41:16, when the Pharaoh asked him to interpret. Now, after 2 years more that has passed, and the man has forgotten, and now he start becoming a little bit less stuck up. And what he say? And Joseph answered to Pharaoh, saying, "It's far more than me. No, this depends of God, and it's Him who will give you the answers. And first, give it to me. Now, it's Him." Look at the changes that he's going through. You need to be very careful to read it, to look at the little nuances, to see that there is a process. Finally, Joseph needed to go to a process of humbling himself. He was so stuck up that he needed to go and eat his little bit of his humble pie. Finally, he ate his humble pie and he started processing. But he still has that thing inside. Because when he sees his brothers, let me tell you this. Very clear here say that his brother didn't recognize him. But he recognized them. Why he didn't say, "I am your brother, the one that you wanted to kill, or the one that you wanted to disappear"? No, hold it. He wanted to know, first of all, about his father, and he wanted to know about his young brother, Benjamin, because he was not with them. Not only that, but look at what he does. He was dressed like an Egyptian, like an Egyptian god now. No? So dressed up that his brother couldn't even see. And not only that, but he talked to them in Egyptian, and he talked to them through an interpreter. And in chapter 42, you're going to see that when the brothers start seeing all that was happening, that he was telling them, "You are spies, and you are bad, and you are this, and you are that." You can read it. I don't need to read for you. But here there is a very interesting point. He hears the brothers, the remorse. They hear the brothers that they feel guilty. They are acknowledging that they did something wrong. You know, when Jacob asked them to go to Egypt, they were looking for any excuse not to go to Egypt. Why they were looking for excuses not to go to Egypt? Because they say, maybe we are going to find him. And they didn't want to see him. They didn't want to know that they already told their father that he's dead. Finally. And they are talking among themselves in front of Joseph. And not only that, but they didn't know that Joseph could understand them. And Joseph heard the regret, the remorse, that they feel guilty. In that moment, he could say, you know what, brothers? No. But he needed still to deal with all what I has done to him. You know, there is a very interesting thing that from the last week that has been teaching you about that we need to, you know, confront, that we need to talk, we need to deal with the issues. You know, here comes something that is very important, you understand? Don't hold a grudge against anybody. When you hold something against somebody, you are the loser. Remember this. When you hold something against other people, you are the loser. When you dislike somebody, you hate somebody, you are the loser. Because you are literally in a prison of hate. This is when I say you need to learn to let it go. That's the reason that it's so important about forgiveness. And Joseph is going to learn that too. You know, forgiveness, I say to you, you know, like I said to you last week, I forgive you, but I don't want to see you anymore in my life. You know, that's not forgiveness. You know, I used to say to people in this way, forgiveness is like when you have had an accident and you have, and then you have a scar, you know. And that scar, every time that you see the scar, reminds you about what happened to you, but there is no pain anymore. Only give you an understanding. Forgiveness doesn't mean to forget. Forgiveness means that that doesn't damage you anymore, doesn't hurt you anymore. Then, and all of us, we have scars in life. And those scars are, and my prayer that are helpful to you when you see those scars, to help you to understand that you went through a very difficult situation, and that these scars are reminding you what you went through, and now you are outside those problems. That now they don't hold you back. And then you can help other people that maybe are going through something similar. I hope that this idea of this parasha, this portion, give us a little bit of understanding about what I have been trying to teach you from several weeks ago about our heroes in the scriptures, about how human they are and how the process of changing. All of us, we grow, and I hope that more we mature, we grow more with wisdom, and we grow letting it go, and we grow with more desire to forgive and to forget than to try to hold it back to others. You know, like I said to you, forgiveness is not to forget, but it is to not to hurt you anymore. Well, there is another part of this parasha for this week that is very important. And this portion also that falls on Hanukkah. And sometimes, even we Jewish people, we don't understand Hanukkah really what it is. Because we have gone so much to the folklore that we have lost sometimes the understanding what really Hanukkah is all about. Hanukkah is not about the oil and lights and to eat fried food. That's what it has become to us. No? But Hanukkah is much more than that. Okay? Hanukkah, the word itself, what it brings to us is the word to dedicate. Rededication of something, and the temple, not the Beit Mikdash. But look at Jacob. Look at Joseph. Joseph was taken at the early age of 17, and he was taken to another place. And this place was a terrible place you know where he was? He was a slave in Egypt. And being a slave in Egypt, they trying to make him lose his identity completely. He became a known person. But he never, ever forgot who he was and the God of him. He never was unfaithful. When the woman, the wife of Potiphar, trying to seduce him, the first thing that he said, how am I going to do this to my God and to my Lord, the one that I am serving? No? And then constantly he was saying, only God. And he was giving always the honor and the glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of their fathers. Even that he changed his outlook, he never changed his heart in the sense of the God. But he needed to polish the heart. He was constantly dedicated to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, the God of his father. Hanukkah is about to keep you as who you are without assimilating yourself to anything. Hanukkah is a cry against assimilation. I recommend to all of you to read the book of the Maccabees. Okay? This is pseudepigrapha. This is in the Christian Bible and the Catholic Bible is found there as Deuterocanonicals. And you can find it in different other places as books itself. But First Maccabees is the most interesting, most historical, and goes hand by hand with Josephus' writings. And then you can compare both writings, and it's very interesting what it tells you. And the idea here is about how already at that time of the Maccabees, the Seleucid Greeks, they had already Hellenized all the area. And most of the aristocracy, and this is what is sad, almost the aristocracy of Israel, they had become Hellenized. To the point they say in First Maccabees in the first chapter, that they will attend the gymnasiums. The gymnasium is a Greek idea. You know, there was a place, rooms where the men will do sports and they will do different things, and everybody was naked. That's how they do the sports at the time. And the first thing that they will see in the Jewish people was their circumcision. And they were ashamed of that. And look, at that time, I am talking about 200 years prior to the Common Era, a little bit more. Look at, they did what I would call a reverse surgery for circumcision. Ouch, that how could be? But they did it. Because they wanted to hide, they call it their shame. They were ashamed to be circumcised. That was the reverse, the alienation, that is the being assimilated to a culture. Let me tell you, right now, we are suffering that situation, not only in Israel, but around the world among the Jewish community. There has come a group among Jewish people who they say that circumcision is barbaric, and circumcision is wrong, and they're against circumcision. I am not talking about Gentiles, I'm talking about Jewish people. And they're opposing to do that. There are Jewish people today, Israeli, that now they want to be more like the rest of the world than to be Jewish. They're even ashamed to be Jewish. I understand that my forefathers, they suffered the persecution, and we needed to change our names, or we needed to put our names in the language where we used to live. We acquire names. Because in that way, we could be among the people, but we still kept our identity. Today, there are a group of people in Israel and outside Israel. They want to be so badly like the other nations that they even don't care about what the Torah says. They don't care about the moral values of the Torah, and they are going totally against those values of the Torah. You see, I tell people, and Yeshua himself say that, don't be afraid of the one here, the living being that can take your life. Be afraid of the Creator, the Borei Olam, who can take your life forever. You see, here somebody can kill you, here, but you're going to be eternally with the Creator. But when the Creator goes against you, that is the problem. That's why it's so important at this time about Joseph. And we need to look at Joseph with admiration. Because in spite of all of that, he never was ashamed to tell the other people that he was a Hebrew. And to the point that when finally he discovered that, and he screamed, and we're going to see him, of course, the next time, about that his father is alive, that his brother are going to come back, he goes and talks, the Pharaoh hears that, and he tells about the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh is the first one to say, bring your family, bring your father, bring everybody. He stayed with Pharaoh, but he allowed his family to grow there. And he never distantiated from them. And even he went later on with his brothers to bury his father in Canaan. Now, let me make questions to you, kind of rhetorical and kind of something that makes us think about it. First of all, are you holding a grudge against somebody? Do you have something that's holding you back? Do you hate somebody so much that you want to see that person dead? Or you want to see that person to disappear? If you feel in that way, you are the one that has the problem, not the person that you hate. Because usually the person that you hate doesn't even know that you hate it or doesn't feel anything. As happy as can be. You are the one that's suffering. Then you are self-destroying yourself. Secondly, are you able to understand that you don't need to alienate yourself? In other words, you don't need to imitate the world in order to be accepted by others. What I'm trying to tell you is this, and especially the young people. The young people has a lot of heroes, from TV, from movies, from sports, from other places, singers or whatever. You have your heroes, and you admire them. You admire them so much that you copy them, and you do not allow to be yourself. You are committing a big mistake. You see, this is the reason that I love Psalms 139. It helped me so much from a long time. The Creator made me as individuals, in a marvelous way. He has not committed a mistake when he makes us. And we do not need to be like somebody else. We need to be ourselves, the best that we can be. Are you imitating somebody? Are you trying to be somebody else that you are not? Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you're going to get the date, you are going to regret what you're trying to do. Because you will never be happy trying to be somebody else. This is the third thing. How you learn to know yourself. You know, Joseph had a very long period of time, hard time. After he was so in the top, went down, and then the Creator put it back again in the top. But in that period of time, he had the opportunity to check himself, to search his soul. A cheshbon nefesh, to account for our soul. You know, teshuvah is to return to God. But the cheshbon nefesh is to account for our soul. What do we have inside us that make us who we are? Do you want to be somebody else? Are you upset with the Creator? Are you upset with your parents? Are you upset with why you were born in that way, or you were born in this place, or you were born in other ways? Are you upset about that? You know, when you're growing up, sometimes you as a young child, you say, no, what need to be born in this home? I don't like this family. I don't like these people. You know, why I was not born with look at my friends, they're allowed to do everything that they want, and to me, they don't allow me to do anything. I am like in a prison. You know, I wish that my parents will be others. All of us, by the way, we have gone through that. How many times we Jewish boys, we just trying to say, hey, when we were born in the diaspora, why I was not born Christian to celebrate Christmas for one time, you know? And I imagine the other people are trying to say the same thing in different ways. But the truth of the matter is, more you accept yourself, happier you are. What if I was born with this kind of hair? What if I was no blonde or blue eyes? Or why I am in this and the other way? You know? Why I have this big nose? Everybody complains about something. And you don't know that the beauty in you has nothing to do with your external beauty. Your beauty comes from within, from inside. That's what God has given to you. And you need to appreciate who you are. And the worst thing it is, stop comparing yourself with somebody else. You're uniquely made. And there are no two like you. You are the only one unique. Even twins, brother, that are the same, whether you call it identical twins. You know, they are different. They are different. Unless you have a clone, you know, that will be different. But here, how important it is that you learn to be yourself. And this is what Hanukkah is all about. Not to being assimilated. Not to be alienated. Not to trying to be somebody else. But totally the contrary. Be glad and be grateful to the Creator for who you are. And you have so much to give. Feel proud of what you are and give it the best that you have and honor to our Creator. This Hanukkah will be a light in the darkness. You know, It's interesting, I always say, we light candles, but we don't light candles during the day. You know, we light candles when it's dark. Why we light candles in the dark? Because we do not want to walk in darkness, we want to walk in light. And that's what the Creator wants for us. I hope that this will be a wonderful Hanukkah for all of us. And Shabbat Shalom.